Hi, everyone. Hi,
What's
Raymond.
up?
How's it going, everyone? Thank you so much. We are back for another incredible Adobe live stream. I'm here joined by Raymond Alva. Thank you so much for being here. It's super, super exciting to have you. You guys are in for a treat with this stream. Raymond's an incredible portrait photographer based in Southern LA, and but he's actually going to be doing something a little bit different this stream. So I'm really excited to see it all. But please let us know where you're watching from. Say hi in the chat. Don't be a stranger. If you have any questions, Raymond is a well of knowledge, and so he'd be happy to answer all your questions. I already see a lot of people in the chat. I've got Piotr, Jack. Thank you, Jack, for always being a great moderator. Oliver. Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. We've got the Rugged West as well. Ratberry, let's go. So fun. I love it. Thank you guys. And yeah, Raymond, if you want to talk a little bit about yourself before we dive into this awesome Lightroom live stream.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. Also, shout out Rugged West, shout out Justin. Thanks for coming on. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this. Yeah, I love all the stuff that you're doing as well. And so this is like an honor to share some of my work and share a little bit of my process. But yeah, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Raymond Alva. Some people like to call me Rap, which is short for a nickname I got in
I
fourth
love it.
grade, Rapberry, which is my Instagram.
I
Little
was going to
subtle
ask
plug
about
right
that.
there. Yeah, so that's long story. We'll get into that maybe another time. But yeah, fourth
If you
grade
want to
recess.
follow his Instagram, that is his Instagram name.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, people like to call me Rap for short. But yeah, I am a portrait and music photographer based in Southern California, Riverside, LA, San Diego. I'm kind of everywhere. But yeah, I shoot a lot of album covers, press photos, all that kind of stuff, editorials. But today we're going to be looking at some of my more documentary, fly on the wall, reportage kind of style work. So.
Very adventure
Yeah,
already.
very, very adventure. So we're not in the studio today. We are in the rugged West.
In the
So
wild.
in the wild. Exactly.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that. Well, a few more people are chiming in. We've got Justin Cosman, Brianne Till. Hi, Bree. Chase Thompson. I love Rap Bizzle, he says.
What's up, Chase?
Ryan, so good. Thank you guys for being here. Again, any questions that you guys have, drop them in the chat. I will relay them. And of course, make sure to subscribe to the Adobe Live YouTube channel. Whether you're on Behance or on YouTube, just make sure you're subscribed because there's always so much happening here. And yeah, so why not get into it?
Awesome. Sounds good. So here we can see my desktop view of Lightroom. And these are all the images that we're going to be walking through today. So about a month ago, a little backstory on this sort of project grouping of images is about a month ago, I went on a 3-day, 2-night off-roading Jeep trip with a bunch of friends, bunch of guys that I know, a bunch of families. And so we were just in the wilderness off-roading, having a good time, and I brought my camera and I wanted to document the journey. And so these photos are from that, and these are just a selection of the photos, kind of my selects, and I kind of want to just walk you guys through what my process is of coloring these, of masking and selecting certain parts of these images, what taking out certain parts of these images looks like with generative fill, and just,
Yes.
adding a little bit more character and texture into these photos. So texture is going to play a huge part into this project. And we're going to look at different ways of how to add texture and also take away texture in some instances. So,
I love this, especially because I feel like with texture and obviously working in harsh light, that's always
mhm.
something that a lot of, beginning photographers struggle with, right? They kind of avoid those like that hour or that time frame just because, maybe it's not quote unquote the best time, but it actually can result in a lot of really, really cool imagery if you know how to retouch it.
Totally, totally. I know for me, like starting out, I was so adamant on we need to shoot at sun out or
Yes.
like golden hour. We need to shoot at sunset. We need to shoot at
Or
6
early
or 7
morning.
or early morning. Exactly. Like same thing, opposite end. But a lot of these photos are actually taken, right at 12 o'clock,
Yeah.
right at 12 or 1 where the sun's high. shadows are a lot, and I've kind of just learned to really dive into that and accept it in a way. And so that's what a lot of these
I
photos are
love
going to
it.
be.
It's all
So
about embracing things, but I'm really excited to
exactly.
see how you kind of take all these like new features that Lightroom has come out with and apply them into your editing workflow. So, a
Totally.
couple more people are coming in. I love it. We've got Jack. Oh yeah, Jack, we've already got in here, but
Hmm.
everyone's being so excited about just watching you do your process. So,
Awesome.
actually, the Rugged West does have a question. What setup did
Hmm.
you use to capture these images, real quick?
Great question. Actually, for these images, I used this exact setup right here. So this
Amazing.
is my Fujifilm X100V. I didn't have this flash on when I was shooting these. These are all natural light. But I just had this little guy strapped across my body the whole weekend, and this is it.
I
So,
love it.
yep.
Awesome.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and dive into these images. That sound good?
That sounds great to me.
Okay, sounds good. Awesome. So here we are in the grid view in Lightroom, looking at all the images as a whole. Here, I like to look at this when I start to kind of get a feel of my whole project. And then throughout the whole, as I'm editing, I like to constantly switch back and forth between the grid view and the edit or develop view. And so you're going to see me going back and forth. I like to treat editing very much as it is a process. It is, some people like to say, the second shoot. So when people go onto a shoot, that's only 50% of the work, you know. The other 50% is you sitting at the computer. And I like to treat it very much as if I'm a painter or I'm, a very media driven artist, where I like to go back and forth, try different things, experiment, go to other photos, experiment on that photo, bring it back to the other photo. And so we're just going to dive in. We are going to go into the edit mode. I just pushed the quick command D to go into my develop module. And so here I'm just going to scroll through a little bit, just see what we got working with. A common theme in all of these is going to be a lot of silhouette images, a lot of playing with form. We
Mm,
see scale is a huge part of specific images.
yeah, and
Um,
proportion too.
Exactly, I mean that Jeep, it's a pretty decent sized car, but in terms of the surrounding
Right.
environment, it looks like a toy, you know,
Yeah.
and so that's so interesting to me. But yeah, we're just gonna keep going, and we had a couple guys who were on some motorcycles, who they were trailing us and going in front, and going on the off-road path that even the off-road vehicles couldn't go on, so that was really fun. Um,
Ooh, I love this. This has so much
yeah.
like movement in it.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, it was intense, some of the trails that we were going on, and I definitely wanted to capture that in some of the
Even the
images.
off-kilter part of it too just kind of lends
Yeah.
itself right into it.
Yeah. And that might have been on purpose, and that might not have been on purpose, Like, I
So
don't
true.
remember,
You're like, it's all quick, quick, quick when you're
Yeah, like
doing something
I'm
like
in
that.
the Jeep, kind of going like this,
So
just
true.
spraying and praying, but it worked out. So, another common theme in my work is I love to shoot through objects, and show here I'm shooting through the glass of the Jeep that I was in, creating a little bit more interesting textures and dynamic, kind of color and play. Um,
Oh, that's a good
yeah,
one.
got some rocks here, some little
Ooh, yeah.
campfires. So
You're
right
telling a
now,
story, you know?
yes, exactly. And storytelling, it's a huge part of photography. We love editing, we love color, we love the cameras that we use, but it all comes down to the story that you're saying, And if you don't, that's always definitely the number one thing, in anything, even if I'm taking photos with my phone or a trip like this where it's not even a client shoot, but it's still, there's story in everything, and I want to
Hmm.
make sure I draw that out. So right now we're kind of just getting a feel for the images. I'm kind of analyzing. I'm maybe getting a feel for how I want to approach these in the future.
Yeah.
Once we do color these, here, we had the single image, and then, he was
Yeah.
maybe a little lonely, so some company went up there, check out the view.
Fun.
Yeah, so we got some good ones. We got some good, I mean, this is gonna
I
be,
love it.
yeah,
Yeah, you
some
definitely
more
got some
silhouette
good
work.
ones in here, and I can't wait to see how they will look once I edit
Yeah,
it. We've got a few more people joining in the chat. Hi,
awesome.
Bernd. Hi, Belle. We've also got Jake Orr, Billy Tallis. Billy says, "What up, my dudes?"
What's up?
And Brandon Wolfel says, "Oh my God, I love these photos." So
Awesome. What's up,
lots of people
Brandon?
chiming in.
Dang. For those who don't know, Brandon just had his live
Yes,
stream
he
right
did.
before this, and I was catching a little bit of it, and it was awesome. So
Really,
it was really
truly.
rad. Yeah, it was sick. Cool. So let's dive into these. So different because I've been using Lightroom for years, I've sort of accumulated my own presets over the years, and we're going to kind of be working through these presets, but I also want to make it known that presets are only a starting point. And these presets I've built over the years, and even when I add them, we're still going to have to work, And so I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. I usually love to, it's very experimental in my editing process. We're trying different things, we're learning real time. And so the good thing about Lightroom is when you're hovering over your mouse over presets is you are actually able to see in real time
Oh,
what
the
those
best.
presets would do. And so I have a couple black and white. I have a couple cleaner, more natural presets. I have some really warm, almost looking like Blade Runner 2049 or, something like that. Um, have some black and whites. So yeah, I think for this one, I really love
I
this
love
Zion
that.
preset. And so, yeah, I'm gonna add that. I'm gonna get rid of my presets module. And we're going to be in here. And I love this image, but I think it's a little too bright, honestly. When we're editing, we always want to be looking over at our histogram on the top right here, if you could see my mouse. And what this pretty much does is it's your photo in a graph form, essentially.
Mhm.
And so the right side of the image is your whitest point, your highlights, and the left side of that graph is the darkest parts, your shadows. And it's kind of showing, the range of how much of your image is in the shadow portion, how much is in the midsection, and then how much is in the highlight section. And here I could see that I'm very much in the highlights. And so I kind of want to be in that middle ground. So I'm just going to bring my exposure down just a tad. And even just that, that is
Mhm.
much more what I'm kind of going for, what I'm envisioning. I could see my histogram's looking good. It's balanced now. It's not one-sided. Sometimes we do like one-sided though. Sometimes we do want the extra contrast. And
It's
so
all about
actually
your intention.
exactly. It's intention. It's, chasing a feeling too. And,
Hmm.
I don't know when I shot this photo, I didn't know how I was going to edit it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I think I actually want to add a little bit more contrast in here. And so I'm just going to go to my curves and I'm just going to put a base on this guy. I really love keeping, that bright punch blue of the sky. And so I'm actually going to bring my highlights down. I'm going to bring my midpoints on my curves down. And the curves, that's really where, the magic happens.
Absolutely.
And I feel like this is a good starting point. I'm even going to just zoom in a little bit, see how that, all the different parts of the image are. See it as a whole again, we're going to double click, go back into there. And now, I think this is a good starting point, but I think there's certain parts of this image that I want to tweak a little bit. And so now I'm going to go into my masking section. And here we are going to be able to kind of dive into some of the new features that Lightroom has to offer.
Yes.
And these are crazy.
So
So
crazy.
one of the new features that is available is this landscape feature. And what this does is if I go ahead and click this, this is going to analyze my whole landscape and my whole pretty much photo and section it off into different parts of the image that I can mask. This is kind
So
of
amazing.
insane, what is happening right here. And so if I, hover over, oh, it's not showing up right now. But if I selected these guys, I'm going to select my natural ground and my artificial ground. And what that's going to do is that's going to separate It's going to make two separate masks. I'm going to create that right now, and my artificial ground and my natural ground.
Nice.
And so as you could see, the red, I'm turning that off and on, and that's selecting my natural ground in the background, which it's very small. And then it's also my artificial ground, which is my cement, my asphalt.
Yeah.
Now, I really love this, and I'm actually going to just bring my exposure on that down. So still keeping with
Ooh.
that integrity of the sky, but we're just adding a little bit more mood into this image. Um, and that's honestly looking pretty nice right now. I might even just come down in the shadows just a little bit, keep the highlights a little bit more. And the crazy thing about this is I could go extreme. I could make that completely black, or I could make that completely white, you know? And
Crazy.
so, yeah, it's pretty crazy how easy that was to do. And actually, I think because we brought down the ground, I think this car is looking a little too out of place now. It's a little too bright for the environment. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another mask. I'm going to go to Object, and I'm just going to draw over this car right now. And it doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be clean, but what we're going to do is we're just going to select that, and it's going to detect all the objects that are in that mask and
Hmm.
automatically feather it out for us. And what that just did, that is looking perfect.
Incredible.
And so we are just going to match that to the darkness of everything else around it. And if we go to this little eyeball emoji up here, or maybe not
Eyeball
emoji,
emoji.
icon,
I love it.
maybe not emoji, but
Let's just
icon.
start calling it that now.
I think it, yeah, yeah. I think every sort of icon is just an emoji now.
Exactly.
Yeah. But if we go ahead and click and hold this, we can see with all the
Wow.
mass what's happening there. And so that's really cool. We can even come in and we could bring down the amount of all of these, which I love. I think it's a little too much. So yeah, we'll just go here. Yeah, we'll bring that down. Now I'm really liking that. And then another thing that I'm really, this image I think deserves a little bit more care than I think maybe some of the other ones. I love the form that's happening here. I'm just going to crop this guy just a little bit. I don't really like these poles on the outside, and so I'm just
Ooh,
gonna
yeah.
bring that, and then I think I'm gonna straighten it out just a tad. Go ahead and push enter.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's looking good. And then I don't really care for this palm tree here. And so I'm going to take my little generative fill, generative AI, and I'm just going to get rid of this guy.
Nice.
So super simple, super easy. And then while I'm at it, I'm just going to get this guy as well and then remove.
I
And if you
love
guys
it.
haven't used generative fill or generative AI, you need to. It is kind of a necessity for retouching
So
nowadays.
good.
And so just like that, that's clean down there. And now it's almost as if, the palm tree isn't peeking out and taller than the gas station, but it kind of ends right there and we don't see it. So it's a
Hmm.
little cleaner. So I'm pretty happy with this image. I'd say let's go to the next image.
Amazing.
And so from here, as I said, some images deserve certain amounts of editing, some don't. And so this image, I think we're going to add that Zion one just one more time.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. And then I'm honestly happy with that. I think I don't really know if this needs too much more.
I love the red.
Yeah, the little subtle
But
red,
just a
it's
little bit there.
almost exactly. Yeah, it's really nice to look at, draws your attention in. Now here, I love this Zion one again. This is really just a
I think the
favorite.
Zion is a great one for like outdoor
Yeah,
adventure kind of.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I made this preset when I was hiking in Zion,
There you go.
yeah, last year, and so definitely fits in mind. Um, Yeah. Yeah,
So
love
fun.
that. I definitely want to fix this guy though. I think we're going to come here. Yep. And then another thing that I love to do is I love to switch up aspect ratios in my
Mm.
images too. And so here I'm going to add this
Ooh,
guy
beautiful.
and working with my rule of thirds, I'm going to make it so that this guy on the roof is in my top left third. And also making it so, these people in here are kind of working in the bottom right third as well. And so there, I
I
also
love
love
that.
to zoom out a little bit. Within Lightroom, another fun feature that people kind of overlook sometimes is you can change the background color of how you're editing. And so I
Hmm.
love to switch back and forth. We never know if people on Instagram are going to be in light mode or dark mode. And
That's
so,
true.
you always
Yeah.
want to make sure, yeah, you're catering to all the audiences a little bit. So,
Hmm. I
yeah.
love how balanced this image feels too, like with the tree or like the
Yes.
I don't even know what you call that.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost like it's another one of the beams too, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
almost like the
exactly.
repetition
Mm-hmm.
of the beams, which is pretty
Absolutely.
cool. So
So awesome.
awesome.
Billy
Well,
Tallis says that's pretty sick, TBH.
heck yeah,
Fire
that's what's
emoji.
up. That's what's up. I like it. Awesome. So we are going to first off to start off this image, I'm just gonna fix my horizon a little bit just because I think it's a little crooked. I'm gonna go right there. And then I'm even gonna bring this guy down so the tires are in that bottom third.
Hmm.
And then right there, I'm liking that. We're gonna go on to here. And this one is going to be a fun one. So we're gonna add this Zion preset one more time. I'm actually gonna take a little bit of contrast out of here, but I think I am going to add a little bit more clarity. Just a tad,
Yeah.
just a tad. We don't want to be adding so much clarity to where it almost looks unnatural, but we kind of want to make it seem as if like, I don't know, when we think about memories and we think about dreams, we often think about like they're the best version of whatever happened. And
Hmm.
I kind of like to treat photographs in the same way. And so I don't necessarily take a realistic approach to photos, but I like to give it a little imps,
Yeah.
a little feeling, to make it as if it's like the best way we remembered it, or it's like a
Oh, I
dream
love that. I
like
love that
that.
interpretation for sure. That's
Yeah, it's
awesome.
pretty fun. So, now let's play a game. So if say this was a client shoot, or maybe I shoot a lot of musicians,
Hmm.
maybe an artist that I'm working with wants to use this image as a album cover, and their album cover is called Blue Tape. Maybe they want to use this image, but they don't like the color of the Jeep and they
Mm.
want to make it blue. I'm going to show you guys how to actually do that right now, because the client is always right, and we want to cater to the client. And so I'm going to go back into my masking tool, and I'm going to go over to this object selection tool, like we did earlier with the other car. We're going to come in here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, and I am going to try and select all of the areas on the car that are red.
Love it. Brandon says, really loving your image compositions.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon. Sweet.
That's looking good.
We're getting there.
I know. I love how the color of the mask is red. So
I
sometimes you're
know
like,
it's a
wait,
little
I
confusing.
hope,
It's a
yeah.
little confusing, but
Oh,
awesome. So
nice.
yeah, so as you could see, that's where our mask is looking. And another way of how to kind of see your mask is just bring your exposure down, turn it off and on, if you want to see exactly what's going on. But we are going to, before we adjust our mask, because when we look over, we can see that there's some areas that are selected that we might not want to select, and vice versa. There might be some stuff on here that we want to select that might not be selected. And so, but before we do that, I'm just going to go over to my hue section, um, and you could just see that we could just start moving it, and automatically we're changing the whole car,
I love
and
it.
easy. And there's a couple different ways how to do this. You could go into the hue section. Honestly, you can go into the point curve section. there's a lot of different ways. Or you can go into your point color selection, select the car, and adjust just like that.
Love it.
Now, this version is only pushing it a certain amount. So we are actually going to use the hue section, a part of the color tab, and we are going to move it over. I really like this
Ooh,
almost
yes.
Dodger blue a little bit. And it's looking a little too saturated for me. And so I'm just going to bring my saturation, give it a little bit more of like this dirty kind of feel, you know?
Yes.
I mean,
Good call.
we've been in the wilderness for a couple days, you know, no car wash in sight, and so we want to make sure that, you know, it's not necessarily realism, but it's still what we remember, you know, and we
Yes.
definitely remember the dirt. Trust me, we remember the dirt. And so yeah, this is looking great, but there is, you know, his arm, if we look
So
into
true.
here,
I almost didn't
that
even see it at first.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is not
That is
real.
looking
That's
like a
not real.
dead corpse zombie hand.
Exactly, exactly. And that's not what we want. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this mask and I'm going to go to subtract and I'm just going to go to my brush. And as we could see here, panning over, and I'm just panning over, holding the space bar and clicking with my mouse and moving. And so, and I'm zooming in and out by just holding my command button and the plus and minus on my keyboard. And so this makes it so I don't even have to touch my mouse pad on my keyboard or anything. It's only keyboard and mouse, which makes it a little easier. And so
Mm,
I am going to just go ahead and slightly, I'm going to bring my mouse up a little bit. I'm going to take my feather down just so we're not having this glow effect.
nice.
Just ever so slightly. And honestly, around the edges, because I do start to see a little bit of that red coming back at him, I am
Right.
going to take my density in my flow, bring that down, and I am going to just barely go over the edge of his hand so that it kind of blends
Reflects.
in. Yes, reflects
Like
the
the color
blue.
cast is more correct.
Exactly. Yes. And so that's what we're doing here, just ever so slightly
Love it.
reflecting that blue.
Oliver says Dead Corpse Zombie Hand. Also a good album title.
Honestly, true. Maybe that's the album title of
Maybe
this.
that's what it is.
Yeah, Dead Man Off-Roading, maybe.
Love it.
Yeah. So yeah, that looks, yeah, it's a little
There we go. That's kind of now you're blending. You kind of have to go back and forth a little bit sometimes.
exactly.
Jack
Yeah.
just dropped in a zombie emoji.
Nice, nice.
There we
Sweet. So
go.
yeah,
That's looking good.
that's looking really good. I'm also going to this guy is selected, and so I'm just going to barely go over this guy just so it's having kind of like a green tint to it right now.
Hmm.
And then also in here, and I'm going very in depth with this, but you know, you never know. So
Hmm.
awesome. That's looking pretty good. It's
Awesome.
not perfect, but I'm really liking that.
I mean,
And
that's pretty good.
that's pretty solid. It's pretty
Yeah.
solid. And so, but you know, to add on to it, I'm going to select my mask and I'm just going to bring this down a little bit. I think the sky is a little too bright. And so I'm just going to kind of matching a little bit that blue. And
Yeah.
that is, I'm pretty
Wow.
excited with that.
Love
So
it.
if we go ahead and click our kind of slash key on our keyboard, we could see the
Oh my
before
gosh.
and the
Yeah.
after. And that's a totally different image, you know.
Totally.
So yeah, if we really want to, we can go ahead and crop. We go here, we go one by one, and that's the album cover. That's
There you
it right
go.
there. You know, maybe we add kind of a crazy vignette on that thing, you know,
Hmm.
add it on there, bring the midpoint all the way, take the feather down. Now we're kind of getting into like
Ooh.
graphic design almost.
Yeah.
You know, we're kind of like mixing the two, and there we go.
I
That's the
love
album
it.
cover. So
Amazing.
Cool.
The Rugged West says, learn something new, love it.
Awesome. That's the goal. That's the goal. That's why we're doing this. So
hmm
cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I
The
think this
black and
guy
white.
definitely black and white's the move.
hmm
Love the mood on this guy. I think we're gonna come down on the shadows even more. Really emphasize
Oh,
that. We're
that's
gonna bring our
beautiful.
highlights up. And, I love, light and texture definitely play hand in hand. And so that's definitely something that I'm thinking about when I'm looking at this image is I am looking at the texture that's in here. I'm looking at if there's any sort of cloud texture or even how the horizon is playing with the sky and the brightness and the texture in the sky.
hmm
There's textures everywhere. There's texture everywhere.
Beautiful.
And so I'm kind of looking at how is the that texture coming out. I think I want it to be very subtle. Maybe bring my shadows up just a tad, bring my blacks down, which is kind of like an oxymoron a little bit. We're taking away contrast in one area, but then we're adding contrast in another area, and it
Mm,
gives us a new effect.
I
So
love it.
go ahead and keep going. This guy, I think the Portra, this is kind of emulating like a Portra 800, but like really pushed and printed in the darkroom. That's like kind of was my intention of doing this. And
Yeah.
I think my white balance might be a little
So
warm,
pull it back just ever so slightly. Yeah.
just a tad. We still want the feeling of it. But yeah, I'm really liking
That
that.
looks great.
Yeah, maybe add a little bit more here.
Fire emoji from Billy.
Nice. Heck yeah, Billy. Cool. Loving that. Yeah, let's keep going.
Cool. Oh
This
yeah, this one's one of
guy,
my favorites.
yeah, we like that. So, okay,
hmm
now I'll leave this one up to you guys in the
Oh
chat.
yeah.
Which preset do you guys think we should put onto this image?
Ooh.
The 800T is kind of nice, having that tungsten
hmm
feel. Zion,
Zion
classic.
looks great.
Midlight, a little bit green
That's
of a
actually kind of
tone.
beautiful too.
It is.
Oh, there's so many. Oh, the Rugged West also, this one's a favorite image as well for him.
Mm,
Definitely catch the sense of adventure with this one. I totally
awesome.
agree. Rugged West, tell us which preset you appreciate or like the most, because yeah, this is a hard one. I feel like it can go either direction.
Totally, totally.
We'll give them a little bit of time, but
Yeah.
yeah. Oh my gosh. No, this is super fun. You guys, if you're just joining us now, I'm here with Raymond Alva. He's an incredible portrait photographer, but he is kind of doing some fun, documentary, like outdoor adventure style photos today, just to share some of the new Lightroom features and some techniques that he has learned over the years, just, how to fine tune an image and tell a story. And so, if you are just joining us now, please say hi, tell us where you're watching from, and of course, any questions or any comments are always welcome. Okay, Ragged West says midday white.
Midday
Uh,
white. Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. I think I agree. I think I agree. Cool. Yeah, let's dive into this one a little bit. And let's mess with I love this ground, but I think it's a little too bright for me right now. But I
hmm
love the overall tone of everything else. I love what the sky is doing. I love how the Jeeps are looking, both the
Yeah.
Jeep that I'm in and the Jeep that's in front of me. And so we're going to go back into that landscape module and we are just going to select the natural ground and the vegetation.
Love
So
it.
once this loads up, as you can see, it's giving us the option to change the sky, change the vegetation, and change the natural ground. We're going to do both of these. It's going to create two separate masks and
Wow. In an instant. Oh my gosh.
automatically. That is so, so easy. And
Insane.
so in here, as you can see, if we go into our natural ground selection, it shows us the natural ground. Go into vegetation, shows us the vegetation. And so yeah, this is great. But one thing is, kind of a bummer thing is I would love to combine these masks. We have two masks,
Mm.
but, I'm in a rush. We're trying to save time. And so instead of creating two separate masks, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this natural ground mask. And the great thing about masking in Lightroom is you can build on each other. And
Mm.
so if I'm selected on this vegetation, I'm going to go ahead and click add. I'm going to go back to that landscape
Ah,
module. I'm going to select natural ground. And what
and
that's
now you've
going to
added that.
do is that just added both onto the same one. And I can even rename this, we got to keep our files organized, non-destructive workflow. And, we're just going to, you know, desert ground. And desert ground kind of encapsulates the actual ground as well as the vegetation. And
Yeah.
so here I think I'm going to bring my highlights down a little bit. Maybe my whites just a tad, my blacks. Oh yeah, adding a little bit more of that feeling in there. We're gonna add a little bit more clarity. As you could
Ooh.
see, we can make it really soft and airbrushed, or we can go super, super crazy. And so,
Even
yeah,
just adding that little bit makes such a difference.
yeah, totally. And now I think I'm gonna add just a tad of brightness just right
Hmm.
there.
I love
Yeah.
that cute little lonesome cloud just like in between those
Yeah, right
trees. It
there.
is
I
looks
know.
so precious.
So good. So good. Awesome. Love that. Cool. Let's keep going. I love the blues
Yeah.
in this one. This one's pretty fun.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, this one,
Stunning. Oh my
honestly,
gosh, that's
that
amazing.
is pretty crazy. I think the 800T is the move for this one. And we're just
Yeah.
gonna cool thing about the presets is you can adjust. It starts off at
Oh my
100%,
gosh.
and you can either bring that down to if it's too intense, or if you want a little bit more
Like
umph
push
to it,
it.
you could
Yeah.
push that. You could push that a
That actually
ton.
looks kind of fun.
I know it's very abstract, but I
Yeah.
love it. And so I love the color that's happening. I think the contrast is a little much. So I'm
Hmm.
gonna come down with that contrast, but still having that intensity. Um, yeah, I really like that. Maybe bring
That's
down the
so fun.
shadows
Wow.
and then yeah,
Breeze
I
has
mean,
great photos.
thank
And
you.
Nico Carrillo wrap the goats.
What's up, Nico? How's it going?
So
Awesome.
fun.
Yeah, love this. I think I'm gonna select my color here. Let's see, where is this
This
guy?
feels like it could be printed and sold like as a print in like Urban Outfitters or something. Like so
Sick.
fun.
Heck yeah. I love it. That's sweet. Yeah, so we're just going to I kind of want to bring I'm gonna kind of go to my greens and kind of just bring my saturation down. I'm gonna see what happens. It's all about experimentation here. And so
Hmm.
if it's working, it's working. If it's not, it's not. But the blue, I mean, a majority of this image is blue. And so, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that right there.
I
Maybe we'll
love that.
add, crop in there, maybe a little 4x5 crop, give it like a postcard kind of feel.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
that's awesome right there. Sweet. Now this guy, let's see.
Mm.
I think I really like the same way that we were working with this image,
Yes,
that
I
moody
agree.
feel. I think that's going to be the move for me. And let's even push that
Yes,
contrast. Let's come down in exposure. And I think so the interesting thing about light and grain and light and texture is the more light you will have often means the less texture. And so when we think about texture, we
right.
often think about underexposed images. We're getting in the nitty gritty. It's low, it's dark, it's sometimes nighttime, and that's when you get a lot of grit. And so for here, I'm kind of going to give it that same feeling because I want to emphasize some of that texture. And so I'm going to go down in my exposure and oh yeah, we see this texture. I
Hmm.
mean, I didn't even notice this texture in the sky in this reflection before, but now we really see it. And I think this very much has that cinematic feel again, where I think I want to give it that
Yes,
16 by 9. It's like we're at the movies, we're watching like an old school noir film, black and
yes.
white, it's probably silent film. Yeah, love that. Love that.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
awesome.
into it. Oh, this one's a good one too.
Yeah, this is great. This one is my friend Jake. I don't personally have a Jeep, and so I wasn't driving a Jeep this trip, but I was in his Jeep this time.
Amazing.
And
Oh my
this,
God, that looks
yeah, the
beautiful.
black and white is definitely there. And I think I might even want to crop in a little bit. I still don't want to lose that scale. that we kind of talked about a little bit earlier, but I think I do want to just punch in a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
stunning.
I'm liking that. Let's see.
His
He's
expression.
just yeah, he doesn't know what's going on right now. Yeah.
Oh, the Rugged West, yeah, agrees on the black and white for the last one and this one, and then yeah, the scale of that rock, so good.
It's crazy. Yeah. And so here I'm going down to my black and white module and I am adjusting just the blue channel of this image. Because I know that the only place that the blue is in the sky. And so
Yeah.
I am going, instead of, like I said earlier, within our Adobe products, we are able to do the same thing very, you know, different times or different ways.
Mhm.
And so I am going to just adjust my blue, bring that down, adjust my aqua, and then that looks awesome right there.
Yeah. It's all about like recognizing what colors are in like the natural, you know, in natural landscapes, right? Like blue will
Totally,
always kind of affect the skies, greens,
totally. Yep,
yellows for
yep,
ground and, you know, that so forth.
yep, exactly. Awesome. For this one, I don't know what I'm feeling. I mean, I'll leave this one up to the chat again. Do we want to go
Yeah.
natural? Do we want to go moody again?
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
I'm gonna leave this up for you guys. I just
Okay.
noticed that I need my charger for my computer. So I'm gonna get that right now. Life of a creative, you know, you're always struggling to get that.
Oh
So
my gosh.
you
Yeah,
got
totally.
yeah, you guys in the chat, you tell me which preset we're thinking, and then I'll be right back.
Okay, perfect. So we've got black and white Zion, midday white, midday light, Zion regular, like color, 800T, HPS, Portra, and Room. So let us know in the chat which you think he should go. Personally, I'm into the black and white Zion, but I think the Portra also is a good, like I was thinking that one too, Brandon. Um, yeah, let us know which one you guys want to try out and move forward with. Um, yeah, I think I'm kind of between the black and white Zion and the portrait, I think. So we'll see. We'll see which one he'll move with.
All
So
right,
we've
guys,
got
what's the consensus?
yes. So I was rooting for the black and white Zion, and my second close favorite was Portra. But we've got Brandon in here that says try Portra, and Nico Carrillo says I'm vibing with Portra. So I think we're
Okay.
we're going with Portra.
Okay, awesome. Let's run it.
Oh yes, Oliver says I like the look of Portra too.
Yeah, I really
It's
like
beautiful.
that. I think that
Hmm.
like green in the shadows, it has a very film vibe. You know, we just underexposed a little bit of film, and so
Yeah,
it's definitely giving that same feeling. So I like
yeah.
that. Let's go ahead and get rid of our presets module. And I think my exposure, it's just a tad up. Yeah, let's bring that. But what I'm doing is I like my exposure, but I don't like what's happening to the shadow or the highlights now. I wanted
Hmm.
my shadows up, but instead of bringing my shadows up, I'm just going to bring my exposure up and bring my highlights down. And so
Mm.
what that's doing is it's kind of adjusting the shadows in a different way. It's more kind of approaching the midtones as opposed to just the darkest parts of the shadow. Um, and so, yeah, we'll do that. I'm really liking that, but I think we're gonna add some masks. What do you say? What do you guys
Yeah,
say?
let's do it.
Yeah, I think so. So I think our um our subject is looking a little dark. So just using that subject mask,
Amazing.
we automatically, that was easier than all the other masks we've done, and they were all pretty easy. And so I'm just going to add a little bit more exposure on him, but I'm
Yes,
also
that
going
looks
to add
great.
a little more contrast too. I still want to have that deepness in the shadows, maybe bring down the blacks a little bit,
Hmm.
and I'm really it's
I'm loving this.
very subtle, but I think that's the key. And so I'm gonna add a couple more masks. I'm gonna get kind of fun with this one. Okay.
Yeah, why
So
not?
yeah, why not? Exactly. So
Robert
I'm
says this looks good.
sick. Awesome. Thank you, Robert. So we're gonna go back into our new landscape feature in Lightroom, and we are, as it's detecting right now, we are going to make two different masks. Earlier we combined masks, but right now I want to separate my masks. So I'm gonna make one for my sky, and then I'm also going to do my natural ground. And so that's pretty
Awesome.
much selecting everything except for him. And so with my sky right now, I think I want to add actually, or I'm going to subtract a radial gradient
Mm.
from him. And what this is going to do is this is all selecting behind him. And this is almost giving like a kind of spotlight effect
Ooh, yes.
or like a sunset spotlight
Hmm.
kind of vignette, but it's not affecting him and it's also not affecting the rocks. It's not affecting our foreground. And so it's kind of giving this illusion that this is the natural sky that is there, you know? And so even just that right there, it's the sky with the circle, the half circle behind the rocks. And we're just going to bring our
Yes. Almost like the
exposure
sun was
down.
behind him.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. And so we're not going to go too crazy with that.
Beautiful.
We're maybe going to go back to here.
That's such a great use of like um this like radial
Totally,
but as in like subtracting from a mask. I think that's so
totally.
brilliant.
Exactly. Yeah, it's really fun. And that's the beautiful thing about these features and this masking feature specifically in
Hmm.
Lightroom is you can just keep adding and building and you can get lost in how much you can edit these. And so now let's
Totally.
go to our natural ground right there, and we're just seeing what's happening right there. We're gonna go down in our exposure just a
Hmm.
tad, and then we're gonna go back to that clarity.
Ooh,
Oh yeah,
yes. That
just
looks
like that.
great.
That's nice. Yeah, I'm really vibing with this.
Hmm.
Yeah, we'll go. So before, after. I think that sky might be, I think we're going to bring down the amount just a tad to make it a little bit more subtle. And then even
Hmm.
if we look at this emoji, like we said earlier, this is showing us, bland image, but still good,
Yes.
completely transformed. And
So much
so
better.
bringing our attention more to the subject, and this is more of what we're kind of going for. So
Great.
now we're gonna kind of just go through a little bit more. Let's see, are there any other specific images? This one is a very fun one. I'm gonna show you guys so if we go on here, and the cool thing about all
Ooh.
of these is I'm just going to push Command C, and what that's going to do is if I go here, go all the way to the end, hold Shift, click. As you could see, we selected all of those, and I'm going to do Command V. And what that is doing did that select all of them? Oh, no, it didn't. It only did that one. We are going to,
I think if you do it that way, paste
where
edit
is it?
settings, it should.
Paste edit settings.
Hopefully. Yeah, there
There
we
we
go.
go. Okay, sweet.
Amazing. Oh, look how
Yeah,
beautiful those colors are.
yeah, that is fun.
That's stunning.
And so just like that, you can go, some projects deserve the extra care, and then some projects you just do everything at once and it works out.
Yeah,
And so, ooh, I love that helmet
that's
one.
beautiful. I love how rich it
Yeah,
looks.
yeah. Ooh,
Ooh.
here, I think we're going to bring our exposure up. I think this one, I'm actually going to give it a different treatment.
Hmm.
Um, I think the black and white is, oh yeah,
That's
that's the
amazing.
that's the move. That's the move. We'll give this guy a different crop,
Yes.
maybe a little 5 by 4 action,
Amazing.
getting rid of that negative space, come
You
down a
guys,
little
we have
bit.
about 6 minutes left. If you have any questions at all for Raymond, please drop them in the chat.
Yes.
The Rugged West is saying, do the light beam one next.
Oh, the light beam one. Okay.
I know, those are all so good. Wait,
Yeah,
oh,
these
that
are
one? Oh.
Yeah, these are pretty crazy. These are pretty intense.
Yeah, where was this? Like in a cave or like,
Yeah. So these are actually lava tubes
oh my
from a
gosh.
volcano that I hope is not active.
Oh no.
Yeah, so these are just a cave, pretty much that we were exploring through, and had these
Oh,
crazy light
that's
beams.
amazing.
Yeah,
That one.
so these ones are super fun. And now I'm just going to, this is going to be my last one that I'm going to edit.
Okay.
I'm going to, I love the black and white feeling of this one,
Hmm.
but I do want a little bit more of that texture. And like we said earlier, texture is often associated with light. And if we bring our exposure and our lighting down, we're oftentimes going to bring up more texture, you know? And so I'm going to even bring down a little bit more of the shadows. I'm going to bring up those highlights just a tad, just punch those up, maybe not that much, but just right there. And if we zoom in, I like to kind of look at sort of the edge of what's happening. And so
Yeah.
another thing with texture, kind of the obvious way of how to add texture is grain. And some people like to take out grain. I love to add it to everything. And this grain module, we can add the first part is pretty much the opacity of the grain. And this will determine how much we actually see it. And we can just keep adding. Our size is going to be the size of the actual dots that we are adding in. And the more you add it in, the softer that image is going to become, kind of giving it more of like a
Hmm.
film look a little bit. Um, you know, Kind of getting away from that digital sharpness that sometimes is
Right.
nice, but sometimes isn't. And then the roughness is kind of jumbling them all together and blending the elements. And so, yeah, I really love what's happening there. And that is, I mean, that's pretty much the image right there. I think this
Amazing.
is one of my favorite images of the whole day. Um, and now to end it off, I want to bring you guys over to my phone and kind of show you guys how all of these functions that I've been doing today on my desktop is actually syncing with my phone. And I'm going to show
Amazing.
you guys what that looks like right now.
Cool. Yeah, let's switch over. The
Awesome.
Rugged West saying, great job on these wrap. Adobe Live thanks for having great creators like Wrap On. Oh, that's so sad. That's so
Thank
sweet.
you.
Ooh, yes, look
Awesome.
at that.
Yeah, already just like that, it's
Ooh.
updating in real time. And now we have our images that we started off with. We have that red Jeep that eventually turned into an album cover for a blue Jeep for Blue Zombie album, I think was the name of it.
Blue corpse, dead zombie,
Blue
something.
Corpse, Blue Corpse, that's what it was. And so, as you could see, I mean, we have everything right here,
Love
even this
it.
image that we just added. And so, I think this is incredible for workflow if you're working back and forth between items. And the awesome thing is, if I click that image and if I click this little export button at the top, Lightroom has given us incredible ways of how to share our images. And I personally want to share this exact image with you guys. You could use it as a wallpaper. You could share it. If you share it, maybe give me a tag. That'd be awesome. But if you go ahead and click share on web, it's going to create a link and create pretty much your own website, which is insane. It's
That's so
included in
cool.
your Adobe. And what this does is this makes a little QR code, which all of you guys feel free to scan this, download the image, check it out for yourself. But yeah, you could do this with galleries, you could do this with single images. It's a great feature that Adobe has added into Lightroom.
That
So.
is so cool, actually. I had no idea that that was possible. So I'm
Hmm.
thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I think everyone had a great time on this live stream. Lots of people chiming in the chat. It's been really fun to watch your editing workflow. So yeah, make sure to take a little picture of that and get your little photo. But just wanted to say thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Raymond. You were awesome. And we will see you next time. So thank you. Bye.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Have a good one.